This is a moment you all truly have been waiting for.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of Talkin MMA. I don't even know what fucking number it is anymore. I think it's like 14. Anyway, that means that the channel's picking up momentum. We are doing very, very well in all metrics. So get on board, guys. Like and subscribe. Of course, subscribe to the channel. It's more than just podcasts. What do you think? I'm a simplistic man here. We're going to make shit happen for you guys. We're going to be versatile. We got podcasts, breakdowns, interviews, so much more. And yeah, that's all I can really say. Like this video, of course, if you will. What do they say? Smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button. That's how the vloggers talk. That's just me channeling that inner vlogger to get more views and likes. You know what I mean? If that's what I got to do, I'm going to do it. I'm joking. All jokes aside, though. Yeah, let's get into it, right? Because that's what we do. We get right into it. So what you can expect for this show is this. There's not too much crazy shit going on in the MMA world. I got about 20 minutes here till we get Mike Jackson on. Mike Jackson, UFC Welterweight, has been in the news recently for a variety of reasons. Obviously, you know, he was fighting Dean Barry. Most recently at, what was that, UFC Vegas 52, right? Which this past Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, Mike Jackson won the fight via disqualification or no contest, some shit like that. Eye poke. So we're going to get Mike Jackson on the show. We're going to get his thoughts on that. And of course, we're going to talk to him like a human being. We're going to get to know him a little bit because that's what we do. We're diving deeper than just the realms of MMA. But of course, we're going to get into some of that stuff too. So stay tuned for that. That's in about, say, 20 minutes into the show. And that gives us about 20 minutes to talk some shit as we usually do. We're just fans here. We're shooting the shit as we always are. So let's get right into it. We got UFC Vegas. What is that? 53? I think it's 53. Rob Font versus Marlon Vera. That's a fight, guys. That is a very good fight. And the reason I say it's a very good fight, I feel like I always say that, but this one particularly is a very good fight because it's a very close fight. It's hard to fucking call. You know, you got Rob Font, who's a guy that was riding high, was on like a 4-fight win streak, something along those lines. We're going to check that in a minute. And, you know, ran into a game, Jose Aldo, a guy who didn't seem like it was a very competitive fight. You know, like there was levels to this shit. You saw that in that fight, in his most recent fight, his last fight against Jose Aldo. And it went 5 rounds and he lost. I think it was unanimous decision. Should be unanimous decision if I'm not mistaken. Definitely should have been a unanimous decision. But if it wasn't, then I don't know what the fuck they were scoring there. Yes, so it was a unanimous decision for Aldo in the last fight. This was December 4th. So he fought pretty recently. Was that like a few months ago now? So before that, though, the guy was looking like a fucking world beater at bantamweight, which is probably maybe the best division in the UFC. Maybe. So he's looking like a fucking world beater at bantamweight. And we got Font versus Garbrandt. That's the fight before he lost to Aldo. He wins that one, unanimous decision, and he dominated that fight for sure. Beautiful performance from him in that fight through 5 rounds. The Marlon Moraes fight, you know, wasn't the greatest, but he did catch him at the end of that first round and got him. Beat Ricky Simone, beat Pettis, you know. So it was a fight that got him on the right track, that Pettis fight. He went on to win 4 in a row, and then he ran into, again, the game, the experienced, the veteran, Jose Aldo. So that's what happened, and yeah, man. Still a very good fighter nonetheless. That doesn't mean he's a bum. You know, he's 19-5. Of course he's not a bum by any means. One of the best bantamweights in the world, and what is he, top 5? Certainly he's in the top 5, right? Rob Font ranked number 5. So he's a number 5 ranked bantamweight in the world. And what is that? That might be the most stacked division in the UFC. Is it the craziest in the top 5 per se? So we got Petr Yan, Dillashaw, Aldo, Sandhagen, Font. Pretty fucking crazy if you ask me. But I think the bantamweight division, in my opinion, is the most stacked division from 1 to 15 in the ranking. I don't know if you guys agree with that, disagree with that, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, you look at lightweight and 170 and 85, or maybe not 85, but like some divisions and maybe heavyweight now. That top 5 is loaded, man. That top 5 it's fucking crazy. So to see bantamweight's top 5, and not just the top 5, but you know, the whole spectrum, crazy. Maybe the best division in UFC. And what does that mean? That means it's maybe the best division in mixed martial arts. If it's not, it's definitely the second or third best. No debate on that. But yeah, I mean, back to this fight, back to Rob Font. So he's ranked number 5, right? You know he's had a rough go. He won on that 4-fight win streak. Again, lost to Aldo, to reiterate that. And then we look at Marlon Chito Vera, and it's a guy who always been very good, always been very game, but never been able to sort of crack into that upper echelon of the division, right? Because he'll win 2 or lose 1, that kind of shit. And we're going to look into that exactly, what I mean by that. Like win 2, lose 3, win 2, lose 1, win 3, lose 1 or 2. That's sort of been the story of Chito Vera's career. It really has. And I think if he can get a win over Rob Font here, that's going to change that narrative. That's going to change that outcome of what his career's been. It's going to be different for him now. You're looking at Marlon Vera, who's number 8 now in the bantamweight division, and well-deserved, right? Because look what he did in his last fight against Frankie Edgar. He fucking starched him with a front kick to the face, right, at MSG, big stage. And it was a fight. He looked good. First fight, I was not content with that, but we're going to get into that shit, all that stuff. So 18-7-1, of course, right? And, you look at his last fights. Again, he beat Edgar with that crazy knockout. He beat Davey Grant. So that was a good win, guys. He's doing well ever since, because he fought Aldo as well. Rob Font fought Aldo, and Marlon Vera as well fought Aldo. But ever since the Aldo loss, Chito is now on a 2-fight win streak. Rob Font's on a 1-fight win streak. We know this game is very mental, so could there be some momentum going on here for Chito? But let's break it down, analyze it specifically. The Jose Aldo fight, which is sort of 2 huge sort of roadblocks in the careers of Marlon Vera of Chito Vera and Rob Font. Jose Aldo, huge roadblock for those 2 guys' careers, right? Well, like when you look at the trajectory of those guys' careers, Jose Aldo's been like stamped right in their path at some point along the way, right? I think Marlon Vera dealt with that a lot better than Rob Font. But does that mean that, Marlon's going to win the fight? No, there's a lot to this stuff. But it's a very interesting matchup. It's a close matchup. I really do. I think it's very evenly matched. That's why I think this is a great fight. I'm especially intrigued with this fight. This isn't no usual UFC Vegas fight night shit where it's, something random like last week, which was a good card, and the finish was exciting. Congratulations to you, Jessica Andrade. Great finish, great card. Maybe not the greatest, but fun card based on the outcomes and how everything played out. Maybe not the best on paper, but I think it played out pretty well. Right? Because they always say you judge a card 2 ways, right? Before, on paper, and then how the outcome is, right? That's 2 different standards, metrics to which you weigh a card out. But let's get back to this one. It's something that Aldo was a roadblock in both their ways, right? So when you look at everything else, let's analyze everything else. Marlon Vera is a guy who, again, has more momentum now, right? But when you look at the list of names, right, and we sort of tally them out, I would say Chito has beat better guys. Aldo, again, Grant, Edgar, and he's fought good guys too. But again, Rob Font's got wins against guys like a Cody Garbrandt, for example. So very evenly matched, even if you want to play that game of, who beat this guy? You beat that guy. Very evenly matched in that department. When we look at it in the fight, right? One thing is this. These guys certainly aren't world beaters in the grappling or the wrestling department, because if you look at Marlon Vera, rather, keep saying Marlon Moraes. If you look at Chito, let's just call him Chito from now on the show. If you look at Chito, which I'm a big fan of Chito. I'm a big fucking fan of the guy, You look at Chito and he's been taken down quite easily in fights. Not quite easily, but, we've seen Frankie Edgar have a lot of success against Chito in the fight at MSG, in the wrestling, early in the first round. And he sort of rode out the round and won that round predominantly because of the wrestling there, right? But if you look at Frankie hasn't been no world beater recently. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to say that, and it's interesting not rather to say that, but that happened, because it makes me wonder what's going to happen against a guy like Rob Font. Is Rob Font going to be the one that can do what Frankie Edgar did and sort of take him down like that? Because it was surprising how easy Chito got taken down in that Frankie Edgar fight. But then I look back and, Rob Font, if you look at, what was the fight? The Marlon Moraes fight, for example. And I think that was, 3 fights ago? In the Marlon Moraes fight, Cody actually did take him down, I think, in the fight too, if you want to go as recent as 1 fight ago. Cody, I think, actually took him down in the fight too. But here's the thing, guys, is Cody he did do well against Cody, but Cody isn't the greatest wrestler. You know, Cody has a wrestling background, but Cody's not. Cody's going out there to win fights by knockout. Cody was able to take Rob Font down. That's where I'm trying to go with this shit. Again, it's a fight where if you look at Rob Font, he was taken down fairly easily against Cody Garbrandt, at least once in that fight, right? He was taken down fairly easily against Marlon Moraes. If you want to see the guys, go back and check out the Marlon Moraes fight before you watch this fight this weekend. Go back, check out that Marlon Moraes fight, and it's interesting because Marlon took him down easily, man. Easily. Marlon looked like Khabib for like 2.5, for like 3 minutes of that first round. It was only a first round. The fight didn't go into the second, right? Because obviously Rob Font KO'd Marlon. And it was beautiful. Rob Font has power. We're going to get into that for a little bit. But, yeah. Marlon took him down, and Marlon even fucking lifted him and slammed him. Got that double leg and lifted him, bam, slammed him on his back, like Daniel Cormier or Khabib. It was crazy. So, again, Rob Font ain't no world beater in the wrestling. He is very susceptible to being taken down. And so is Chito. But here's where I differentiate between that. Chito was taken down by Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar is a fucking good wrestler. Look at the track record throughout his career. Frankie's used wrestling throughout his career when he's needed to at the highest level, at the championship level of the sport in the biggest promotion in the world. Frankie Edgar's used effective wrestling. You know what I mean? So I can't necessarily blame Chito for that. Frankie's just a great wrestler. Always been. But I mean, to get taken down by Marlon Moraes like that and get slammed and all that, I tend to give Chito Vera the wrestling advantage. And it's something that I've seen a lot of people out there like Dan Hardy, because I love all this shit. I'm a consumer like you guys, and I love all these podcasts, weighing in. I saw weighing in, and I don't know if it was Big John or Josh that said that they give the wrestling advantage or the grappling advantage to Rob Font. And I think it was Dan Hardy as well that said that. You sure about that? Because from what I've seen, Rob Font has had more trouble with a lower caliber of wrestler than I've seen from Chito Vera. At least recently within the last 3 fights. You go to trajectories of careers, we're talking something different there. But just think about that. So let's get to the striking now, right? Because I would give Chito a slight advantage. And Chito's even a little bit more active in the submission game, right? Throughout his career. He has that track record. Great rear naked chokes, finished that a bunch of times throughout his career. But let's get into the striking now. I mean, it's tough. This one I might give Rob Font the advantage. I do, because I think Rob Font has more of that power in his hands. If Chito ain't catching you with a kick or anything like that, he's not necessarily putting you out, knocking you out with his hands. Think about that, right? When has he ever done that? But Rob Font's got big time power in his hand. Rob Font's has one of the best jabs in the bantamweight division by far. Go watch the Cody Garbrandt fight and look at how fucking effective that jab was that Rob Font was using. Go look at how effective that jab was. And, you could say that that's going to be a big issue in this fight, but I like Marlon Vera's movement enough. I like his looks enough, his versatility in the stand-up enough, the looks he gives us switching from orthodox to southpaw enough that I think it's going to throw Rob Font off enough that maybe that jab isn't as effective as against like a Cody Garbrandt or somebody like that. You know what I mean? Because Marlon's very active. Marlon Vera is very active in the stand-up. He's very versatile as a striker. I give him the versatility advantage. But in the pure boxing stand-up advantage, rather, I'm giving it to Rob Font. 100% giving it to Rob. And yeah, I mean, listen, Rob Font, overall, from an overall striking standpoint, just on the feet, giving it to Rob Font, the advantage in that fight. I'm giving it to Rob Font. And I think that would be very relevant and would really sway my opinion if Chito Vera has been finished before. But he hasn't. Chito Vera hasn't been finished before. So when you have that out there, that fact, it makes me wonder. But then let's go to other facts. Has Chito Vera ever been 5 rounds? At least in the UFC? No. I haven't seen him 5 rounds. He's been in 3-round fights for the most part. And I'm shocked that the Aldo Vera one wasn't a main event, but it wasn't. And that went 3 rounds, So Chito's been 3 rounds a bunch of times. Has a lot of octagon time in the UFC. But as I look at it here, never been 5 rounds in the UFC. So it's a big ask. It's a big question, right? It's a big asking point there. It's something that is unknown. It's unknown. Say what you want. Say, I think Chito's going to do well. And spoiler, I think Chito wins the fight. I'm going to say Chito wins a 5-round decision in this fight. I got Marlon Chito Vera in this fight. Big fan of both guys, but I think Marlon Chito Vera wins this fight. But, you know, if I'd be lying if I said I know for a fact Chito's going to do very well in rounds 4 and 5 because I haven't seen it. You know, I haven't seen it. But I'll tell you what I've seen that sways me, that makes me think that he will, that makes me think that that will lead him to winning the fight ultimately, because I think he'll get some of those early rounds, or 1 or 2 at least, and then I think he'll win some of those later rounds too. So, and here's the thing. Rob Font, let's talk about that for a second. This is not downgrading Rob Font's endurance or anything. Let's highlight that. Rob Font, like we're talking about 5 rounds, Rob Font is in the conversation. He can go 5 rounds with anyone, anytime, any place. Rob Font's great cardio, shown it. Very good cardio. So Chito is actually the question mark here. This isn't to downgrade Rob Font here. Rob, you're the one who's gone the distance 5 rounds before, multiple times in the UFC. So that's no unknown for you. I just think Chito, if you look at his fights with like Frankie, and you look at his fights with Sean, or maybe not Sean, but you look at some of his other fights, right? Chito comes on strong. We just said Frankie, I think Frankie won the first round at MSG, right? That's what I thought. And yeah, I mean, that is what I thought, right? But Chito won rounds 2 and 3. If that was a 5-round fight, Chito was just going to eat him alive, even if he didn't land that nasty front kick. But he did, and that helped him a lot. So I'm going to say Chito wins the fight, guys, just to sum it up. And you look at the bantamweight division, and where does that lay Chito? Chito, I think he tweeted something along the lines of like, I'm next for the title, or he either said I'm next for the title, or he said that, he's like in the conversation for it if he wins his fight. I agree with the second part of what he said. You are in the conversation if you win this fight, Chito. You beat the number 5 guy in the world. I got to say, I'm a fan of Rob Font, but as a bigger Chito Vera fan, and it's no disrespect to Rob Font, you know what I mean? I've seen Chito Vera podcast and all that shit. I'm a big fan of the guy. I like what he represents. Rob Font, I'm a huge fan of you as well, man. And again, just big fan of Chito. So it's exciting because if he cracks into the top 5, like, wow, a guy who's had ups and downs, not just in the UFC, but throughout his whole career, the trajectory of his career, but certainly in the UFC predominantly. And to see him break into that top 5, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited for him if he could do it, very exciting. And, yeah, man, does it get him a title shot? No. I mean, we're talking about, again, maybe the most stacked division in mixed martial arts. I think it is. I tend to agree that bantamweight's the best division in MMA, not just in UFC and MMA. But at the top, TJ's going to get that title shot next, right? Corey Sandhagen's in there. Jose Aldo's in there. So if he beats Rob Font, he climbs that ladder, gets at number 5. He's still got a couple pillars in the way. You're going to have to beat at least a Corey Sandhagen or a Jose Aldo. You're going to have to run that back and beat Jose, or maybe you're going to have to fight Piotr Jan and get through Piotr. Just think about that. Like, I mean, can Chito beat Piotr Jan right now? I'd be lying if I said I think he would. I don't know. I think Piotr Jan wins the fight at this particular moment in time. Chito goes out there with a good performance, does something spectacular like he did against Frankie at MSG. We're going to have a whole different discussion. But nonetheless, I do have Chito winning. A great fight, though. An evenly matched fight, guys. Tune into that shit. And yeah, so we're about to have Mike Jackson call on here. Hey, Mike, you there?
I'm here.
Hey, man, welcome to the show. How's it going?
How's it going? Well, thanks for having me.
Great, man. Great. So obviously, a lot of stuff's been going on lately. But this is a show where we like to go full circle here. So we want to start all the way from the very beginning. We want to get your story, all that good stuff. So, I think the best way to get to know you, Mike, is how did this all start, man? What's your start with MMA? What was the thing that piqued your interest? When did you start training? Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, man. I've been a fan of fighting my entire life. Started with boxing and pro wrestling as a kid. I had, a cousin who did karate. And I tell my mom, she's the reason that I ended up getting into fighting because, she let me do karate as a kid. So I was like, I had to find an outlet somewhere, like punching somebody, right? Fast forward, I'm in school. in college. Find a gym, and I think that's where fighting really started to pique my interest. And then at the time, I was a place called College Station, Texas, where Texas A&M is. It's a very, it's a college town, very small. So for me, the options were kind of limited, right? Found a few spots, tried them out, and then eventually I stuck with one that really connected with me. It was called Krav Maga. It was like a Krav Maga school. And the irony of that, right? Fast forward fucking 14 years, and I'm basically fighting a dude who's trying to rip my eyes out, like in a Krav Maga fight. And yeah, man. So I had my first fight as an amateur in 2008, and I went out there. I didn't know what I was really getting into, but went out there. I had a guy and strangled him, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And getting your hand. That's what I tell people, man. Getting your hand raised after winning is a great feel. Like there's levels to that as well, but that in general, the feeling that you get from that is something that you'll never forget, and it's kind of like that. Like that definitely is a drug where you want to repeat that. So I kind of fell into that, and man, I just enjoyed it. I fell head first in, and for me, I know that I know that fighting isn't something that you can do forever. And I've always had a hustler's mentality from a kid. On. I come from a privileged family, so I had all these opportunities to learn and be successful and things like that. So I just kind of like parlayed that, or took that and implemented it into the fighting world. And so I had to set myself up for, something outside of fighting, and that's where like the media personality came. That's where the photojournalism came and things like that. And I just really parlayed that into. And again, it was the right place, right time, knowing the right people. It was just a right moment in history, really, for all this to happen. I could do what I did then now, so to speak, but it wouldn't have had the same impact because I was doing what I was doing from the media side. No one was doing that at the time. Now everyone is doing it. Like all of the big companies and big channels and all that are doing what I was doing. But at the time, no one was really doing those things, right? So for me, it was just right place, right time. Got in, early legacy, which eventually becomes LFA. Mick Maynard becomes a matchmaker in UFC. So again, I have these connections that a lot of people don't really have access to. And that's really what it comes down to: access and privilege and things like that. And so, doing my thing on that side, finding a good space. And then out of nowhere, I get a call like, "Yo, you wanna fight this kid for a chance to fight CM Punk?" Well, no, I tell you that wasn't. That's the gist of several conversations wrapped up in one. But that's kind of how it started. Like, "Yo, you want to fight this kid?" And then like, I don't know. I'm trying to get back into it. And then, well, the winner goes into you fight Punk in the UFC. And I was like, "Wait, what?" This was at XKO. It would have been for Legacy or okay. LFA at the time. Because again, so for me, I have connections with the relationships with. First it was Lone Star Beatdown, then that turned into Legacy Fighting Championships, which then merged with RFA and became Legacy Fighting Alliance. And so again, I've been there from the start of the ground up of a lot of promotions who are pretty fluent right now. But yeah, so that came, and then I was kind of that kind of piqued my interest a little bit, and I was kind of like don't worry about it. When was your last amateur fight? What year was that? Do you know more or less? Amateur fight 2012? 2012, I believe, and then I made my pro boxing debut in like 2013, I want to say. And then when did you make your pro MMA debut? For the Mickey Hall fight. So was my pro debut. Let me ask you a question. Was there anything to that 4-year gap? Any thought process in there? To adapt back into MMA? Yes, absolutely. Like, so, well, so you were a bit active, right? And then you sort of took 4 years off it? Right. So for me, the way I looked at it was in terms of, I'm out here covering the sport, I'm out here doing my thing. Yeah, I'm still active as far as fighting, but I'm more on the boxing, kickboxing side at this point.
Right.
What happened was I had some injuries that kind of was hindering my MMA, ride or whatever. So the doc was just like, yo, you need to take some time off. So I was in the process of taking, I think I had to 6 weeks off or something like that. Because by this time, I've been just consistently training since 2008, right? Taking I may take a couple weeks off after a fight or something like that. But outside of that, I'm staying active. So this was finally the first time really, I guess, since I began training that I was really getting some downtime. And so during that downtime, I'm telling myself, like, hey, we don't have to compete all the time, because obviously boxing, kickboxing, or boxing in particular is a passion. I love kickboxing because it's kind of add kicks in there, whatever. But boxing I have a love for, I have a passion for. So all I'm doing now, I'm telling myself, since we're over here, we're primarily covering and engaging in MMA, I'm thinking just do one MMA fight a year, just to do it right. But I'm still gonna keep doing the boxing, kickboxing thing. So right as I'm thinking, let's compete in MMA once a year, I'm probably back in the gym a week. And then this is when I get the call from my guy Colin, he was the matchmaker for Legacy. He was also the ring announcer for Legacy. So when it presents itself, it kind of plays into the whole thing. We're gonna do one fight a year, and so when the opportunity is nah, it's gonna be in the UFC, I was like, oh shit, all right, well that's different. Who's not gonna want to make their MMA debut in the UFC, right?
Right.
So at that point, it was really just an opportunity that I couldn't say no to. Even today, regardless of how I feel about the fight, it's still something I couldn't have said no to. If I would have said no then, I guarantee you I wouldn't be where I am right now, right? So that one event, that branched off into a whole nother series that led to another series of events that led me to where I am in this point in life.
Okay. So obviously, we get to the Mickey Gall fight, and then after that, right, you get the CM Punk fight, right? So fast forward a little bit.
Right.
And I got a couple questions about that. So you obviously put up a good performance, and obviously post-fight, there was a couple things Dana wasn't happy about, right? But again, from my standpoint, this is entertainment, right? So you're trying to do what you want to do to entertain the crowd rather. And, maybe you feel like this guy's not necessarily on your level. So, you're like, oh, okay, this is maybe my opportunity to be able to entertain the people a little bit more. What's your take on that? What do you think about that? Do you agree with that?
No, if I'm being honest, here's the thing, man. Me as a person, I'm a genuinely nice guy. I can't, all right, so I'm the guy in the gym, I move around with, I probably do 30 to 40 rounds of boxing, amateur boxing, a week, right? I'm the guy that goes to the amateur boxing class, and I'm just giving everybody rounds. It doesn't matter if you're a 4'7" woman to a 6'4" heavyweight or some shit like that. And I go with everybody, and then I know what their abilities are, right? And so I can work with these people, as opposed to them kind of you have a bunch of amateur people learning kind of how to fight together. They kind of all the technique is going to go out the window, right? So with me, I'm like a high tech punching bag for them, right? I look like a person in their eyes. I can move around.
Got the experience.
I'm not gonna hurt them, right? These people are. I know there's a girl right now she's been boxing for a couple years. She's probably she walks about 145 pounds. She may be one of the hardest hitting fighters in the gym. And every time she steps in that ring, when she's hitting, I guarantee you, if I let her hit me, she can knock me out. That's how hard this woman hits, right? But if she goes in there and does that with other women, they're gonna get into a fight at that point. So no one's gonna learn anything. They're just gonna be in there fighting. So for me, I get to go in there and help them help themselves, right? So with that,
I'm able to do that because of who I am, right? Because of who I am naturally. I'm a good person. I'm not trying to hurt anybody, et cetera, right? So in the moment, I'm looking at it prior to the fight. I'm literally looking at this as a guy who he's on the lower end of fighting, right? He's someone who's been training, but he doesn't have a high skill level, right? Well, when the fight starts, I was like, oh shit, it's not that he's a bad fighter. He can't fight. And to me, there's a difference. Like the guy is a couple levels over. He's a couple levels, like his striking wise, is a few levels over a cardio kickboxing class, and then you sprinkle in the jujitsu and his jujitsu background, right? And on top of, he's not real, like he's trying this out. He's not trying to become champion. He's not trying to move up a ladder. He's just trying something out, and it just so happens is fighting, right? So for me, I couldn't go. Once I realized, like, oh, this guy can't fight, I couldn't go out there and hurt him. Now, I still had to beat him up because he talks shit, and then you can't talk shit in fighting, and then not have to back that up, right? So that was the gist of the Punk fight. Once I realized, now hindsight, because I went back and watched the fight maybe like a couple months ago, and I was like, damn, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But here's the thing to that as well.
You wouldn't do
right?
that now.
Correct. But to my point that I was telling myself, I probably would to an extent, because there's levels to fighting, right? And there's a mentality to fighting. And for me, there's a difference in fighting and sparring, right? So when I'm in the gym sparring, yeah, I'm still trying to get better. I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to do these things, but I'm not really like in this killer mindset, right? When you're fighting, like I'm thinking, this dude's trying to kill me, basically. Like I need to defend myself, and then I need to, do what I have to do to him. So those are two different minds. Again, and this is purely for me. You're gonna have people. I know people who have no off switch. Like, I'll take Derrick Lewis for instance, right? Derrick Lewis really doesn't. The only time I've ever seen him spar, he's been fighting. Outside of like we've moved around a few times and he's gone like 20%. Even him punching me 20%, I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to get hit with that again. So you're gonna have people who they can't change the level of their intensity, right? They have one level or one speed, right? And then me on the other hand, you have multiple speeds. So when you take these into account, I was like, man, I can't I gotta beat him up. But I don't want to hurt him, right? And so that was my mentality with that fight. And again, following it with Dana White and his antics or whatever, I get it. Like that's the other thing. Like I'm a logical person more so than an emotional person. So I have the ability to like take a step back and look at it from a more objective standpoint. And when I look at it objectively, I fully understand why Dana did what he did. Do I agree with it? No, I don't agree with it.
You're referring to the post-fight comments, right?
100, right. You know what he's saying, and he's upset. Like, look, man, in 2 fights, they paid this guy $1 million. He got $500,000 a fight. If they're paying him $500,000 a fight, how much money do you think that he's generating for this $1 billion company, right? So when you have a guy who they think I'm gonna lose anyway. They start a golf fight. They know I haven't been fighting. This dude's gonna cut. Now that's the thing. People don't understand. Even when we get to the Dean fight, like people don't think for whatever reason. And to me, I don't care. For whatever reason, people don't think I can fight. I don't know why, but whatever, right? So when you have someone who you don't think can fight, who's gonna come in and lose, and then comes in and does what he does, to the point I told people what was going to happen. I told people the whole scenario before any of this happened. Before I fought Gall, I told people what would happen, right? I said, if Gall fights him, this is going to happen. It happened. Basically verbatim how I said it was going to happen, it happened. When I fought him, now initially I said, man, I want to knock the dude out, but I still proved my point of him not being prepared or being ready for this level. So when a person who's expected to lose to this guy with no experience, and I go in there and make it so that he looks like he doesn't belong. Now, this investment that you made, you can't bring this guy back now. Because I didn't just go, like, again, for the gall, he goes and submits him. Shit, he got caught. You can give him another opportunity. When I go in and beat him the way, and again, I make him look stupid, right? I'm going, and then that was just, I was fucking around, right? But when I go in and beat him the way I beat, you can't bring him back after that, right? So being that if you can't bring him back, you can't make any money off of his name because that's the whole, this is a money grab to begin with. So when I now stopped your money grab, you're going to feel a kind of way. Again, I get it. He's emotional too. So you're going to feel a kind of way. And it's Dana White. Dana White just says whatever the hell he wants to say anyway. So he's going to just start spewing a bunch of shit. So in the moment, because at the time I was actually, funny, I was trying to meet with Dana before I left their venue that night. But he didn't know. And so I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm doing my True Food Tour thing. I'm looking for, because I'm fighting in Chicago. And this is the first time I'm able to eat a deep dish pizza, like an authentic deep dish pizza, right?
Deep dish,
so I'm
man.
waiting
That's
for
some
that.
good shit right there.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting there waiting for it. And I just happened to get on my phone and checking Twitter. And now I hear everything. The only time that was the moment that, if anything, I felt was ruined in a way, was my deep dish pizza experience. Because I had to wait like 45 minutes for it. Because it's after the fight in Chicago. It's probably like, 1 o'clock. And then they were like, yeah, you got to wait for it. I was like, shit. I had to wait like 45 minutes. And as I'm waiting, I'm reading all the Twitter shit, right? That's kind of ruined my mood. But I slept on it. And then I was fine. Yeah, I was fine after that because, I don't think like everybody else thinks, right? The majority of people out here are very emotional people. Or emotional. And I see it every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm dealing with it right now. And then when we get to Dean, I'm gonna tell you about these motherfuckers. So I'm dealing with it. You deal with emotional people all the time, and that doesn't. You can't. I mean, emotionally you need it. Obviously, you don't want to be a fucking robot. But I think it's a detriment if you're too one way, whether too logical or too emotional. It can be a detriment. You have to have a solid balance. But for me, my numbers fall more on the logical side, and it's been very beneficial. And it saved me a lot. It saved less stress. I can laugh at these people because, again, they don't mean nothing. These are nobodies that are just talking into a void. I just get to laugh at it for my entertainment.
Let me ask you this then, Mike. How did we get from Dana saying that you're not going to fight in the UFC to now? Because I know that the Dean Barry fight, and let's not say to now you fighting in 2022, because I know the Dean Barry fight was scheduled for 2021 a couple times, right? And it got canceled.
Yeah.
So how did we get from Dana saying that, he maybe doesn't want to see you fight again in the UFC to now, you're fighting Dean Barry? Now, how did we get to that point? Is it because of that understanding of the criticism from Dana, because you were able to understand where he was coming from?
Yeah, well, it was multiple points. So one, I come off a win. So you can't cut me, like, just contractually.
Right.
They had to have offered me a fight. But I spoke to Dana several times. Like, I've seen him after the fight.
Dana's a little hot-headed right after the fight too. He tends to overreact a bit sometimes, right?
Exactly, and that's what I'm telling people. Like, he's very emotional. So again, initially I felt the way, but then I was like, you know what, I get it. And then he, on top of him being an emotional person. But we had a conversation maybe like a year later or something like that. I ran into him at some fights. And then since that point, since the initial conversation, I've ran into him several times again. So we've had a history of just small little conversations following the Punk fight. So yeah, we're good, man. But as far as the Barry fight, coincidentally, I was actually offered a fight in November of 2018 on the Argentina card.
Okay, really?
But
that was in the summer, right?
So,
yeah.
No,
what was it?
I got the offer around summertime, but it was in
I'm
November.
thinking about the Mike Perry one. Remember that one in the summer in Argentina?
Yeah.
And Shevchenko? Yeah, okay.
No, so I got an offer for that, and that wasn't really publicized.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well, the reason it wasn't publicized because I initially accepted the fight because Sean emailed me, he's like, hey, I got this fight for you. Let me know if you want it. I told him yes. Literally the next day I'm in the gym, I get hurt training, hurt during training. This injury happens. It's kind of like wear and tear. Your body's just kind of getting older. So that happened. So then I reached back out to him, said, hey, and I said yes initially. But the crazy thing, for whatever reason, he never gets my first email. I have to send him like 2 or 3 for him to get them. So he didn't even get the first email of me accepting. So then I have to follow with a, hey, I accepted, but I can't because of this. So he's like, nah, I get it. Heal up. We want you to be, ready to go. Just contact me. So after that, that in itself relieved pressure because you're like, all right, you hear stories, you turn them down, motherfuckers get cut or whatever the fuck maybe. But I didn't have I get it. Everybody's gonna have their own experiences for different reasons. For me personally, this has been one of the greatest experiences that I've had, and I'm pretty used to having dope shit happen to me, right? So like even like the thing like I'm probably not as caught up into it as like another fighter would be, like a guy who's trying to be champion or some shit like that. Like their attitude is gonna be way different than mine. I'm just like, yeah, it's some cool shit. Other people like I'm basically living other people's dreams right now, and so I kind of have this chill. But then that's me too. That's my personality. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm doing some cool shit, whatever. That's literally just me because like my life has been full of just some cool shit happening. So this is kind of like par for the course for me, man. But yes, I was offered to fight in Argentina. I was letting that happen, letting that recover, and then I was like, I'm finally getting back into the groove of things, getting, increasing my MMA levels. I'm getting to travel across the country. I'm meeting new people, getting to train at their gyms. Like I have all these high level gyms I go to, because of why I'm in the MMA space. I have these gyms that open their doors for me. When I would go out to Vegas, get some work in as a PI, but then go out to syndicate.
Where are you training now, Mike?
I train out of Main Street, boxing downtown Houston.
Okay.
With Crew Bob is like me, Derrick Lewis, we have some other high level athletes as well.
Gotcha.
Kevin Holly comes across trains with us out here.
Nice.
Yeah, so that I was just trying to like really just level up, get better. Then around August, maybe September of 20. Oh, then like then the pandemic happened. That was the other thing. So I don't know. I forgot about that.
Right, the pandemic. Yeah, definitely. That's something I didn't even take into consideration.
Yeah. So what? This was 2018. I get the fight. Then I say, nah, I'm gonna hold off. So then so I'm also looking at this in terms of like I understand the position I'm in. I understand like the level of competition is gonna change. So I need to be prepared for that as well, right? So I don't want to go in there, half-assed it. I want to be my best version of myself. Now, if the best version of myself goes out there and gets washed, then so be it. I'm not even supposed to be here anyway. I'm just doing this shit for shits and giggles, right?
Were you worried after the pandemic that the UFC was going to start cutting a lot of fighters and all that stuff?
No, I was never worried about that. Because I understand the business side of this as well. And so that's the other, like, people don't understand. This is a business. People, they can't comprehend certain levels of life, right? And this being one of them. People, this being a business, but it also is something that you have fans, right? And remember, fan is short for fanatic. So you have a lot of people who are very emotionally tied to the UFC who they're only tied to it from one aspect, from the fandom, right? And that's fine, but you also have to understand there's the other side to this as well. You don't have to understand it, but don't talk about shit unless you don't understand. Like, I don't talk about things I don't understand. I try to go find understanding first, or some type of knowledge on the topic or the subject before I give an opinion on it. I don't just give blank opinions on things, right? So people not understanding that, I was chilling, right? I'm chilling again. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to level up my skills, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm taking this time off, which is I took, let's see, so that was in 2018, rest of 2019. But at this point also, you have to factor in that they're just not going to put me in there with anybody. It has to be a competitive matchup. The athletic commission is going to have to approve it. So, and again, I'm aware of this as well. People are like, yo, just ask for a fight. I was like, that's not how it works. Like, people are telling, they're saying all this shit online or whatever. I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not how it works. Just because you say something, like, you know what I'm saying? So, it was a waiting game. Then, like I said, the pandemic happened. I'm like, man, if they called me to go to Fight Island, I'm saying, fuck that, because I don't understand the process of doing all that. I wasn't about it. Wasn't trying to have it. And then about August, September, I get a message from Dean Barry, and he's like, hey, on Instagram, he's like, hey, I give your name. My management got your name. You know, no disrespect, which is ironic with that shit too. The whole no disrespect part. That's the other thing. Like these fake martial artists, man. Like it's a bunch of bullshit. Like you come from like these people who come from traditional martial arts. You supposed to have like fucking Bushido and respect and all the other shit, and you know, like it's a bunch of bullshit. Like you have people who they're fake. You know, it's like you bring your real street mentality. Like you didn't grow like martial arts. Traditional martial arts is supposed to help people like become better people, right? It's supposed to teach you self-discipline and respect and all this other shit. And you got these motherfuckers that get into it and they still pieces of shit, which is crazy to me. But anyway, so he messaged me all this shit, and then so I was like, hey, I'm getting back into training because I think he wanted to by that December or some shit like that.
2021, December 2021.
This would have been.
When was this? Was this before before the canceled bouts?
Yeah, so this was like August, September of 2020. But he's trying to, because again, at this point, hindsight, I find I'm the reason he's getting signed. So he's pestering me because he wants to fight in the UFC, and I'm his only ticket in. So he's blowing me up, yo, like let's make this happen. Call Mick, I know that's your boy. But he's doing, and I'm just like, yo, you got a whole management team. That's not my job. I'm here already. I'm chilling. You the one who needs this fight, right? So finally around December 20, so like let's say two and a half months or so go by, going back and forth on Instagram. He's messaging me like twice a week, 2-3 times a week. Yo, you hear anything? Call him. I'm like, bro, like stop bothering me at this point. Like, what the fuck? So fast forward, Sean hits me up. He says, hey, you good to go? I'm like, yo, send the contract over. Boom, we knock it out. Well, they tell me it's in Vegas initially. When they hit me up, he's like, hey, you want to fight in Vegas? Like, cool. Well, fast forward to about a month or so out of the fight, they're like, hey, we need your passport. And I was like, I lost my passport, but why do I need a passport? Because we were going to Vegas. He's like, nah, we moved to Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. I was like, oh, well, and I already said I didn't want to go there anyway in my head. So I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. So I couldn't get my passport in time, and that was the reason for the initial cancellation. I couldn't get my passport in time because, again, I lost it. They told me Vegas initially. When they switched it up, I couldn't get it in time. So they're like, all right, let's postpone it. They come back. They're like, all right, we're going to do it May in Vegas. Then somewhere March, April, no, probably let's say February, March, they say, hey, the fight's off because he can't get a visa over here. It's like another lockdown or some shit like that. So I was like, all right, whatever. Well, just let me know. I'm here ready. You know, just let me know when. And so then it was just basically a waiting game. And then they start opening back up. I'm running to Sean a few times. I'm like, yo, let's boogie. He's like, we're going to figure it out. And then we figured it out. We got a date. We got the whole this ESPN fight night card. And that's how the whole Dean Barry fight came about.
So let's get into that a little bit. Let me tell you what I saw from a distance, and I don't even want to talk about the whole the crotch shot and all that, which is clear. That was definitely a crotch shot. After all that, we're not even going to get into that. I want to talk about what defined the fight, the outcome of the fight, right? So I'm going to tell you what I saw from a distance as a fan. I mean, the guy, that was a nasty-ass eye gouge. You know what I mean? Respect to Dean Barry, too. Nothing against it, but from my end, of course, that was a nasty-ass eye gouge. So I don't discredit anything. You couldn't open your eye. You couldn't open your eye. The fight couldn't go on. The fight couldn't go on. Like, what do they want you to go out there and fight with one eye? I mean, you know what I mean? So that end of the disrespect you've been getting and all that, that's fucking ridiculous. I'm just going to say that right now. What do you want the guy to fight with one eye? What do you have to say about that?
No, they do. Well, that's the thing, man. Like, this is not a street fight. This is a sporting competition. Like, there are rules. The first thing Chris Hanley came back on between the rules meeting, he was like, look, these are the main fouls, and we're trying to avoid them. Eye gouge or eye poke and nut shots. Those are his specific words during the rule meeting. He was like, this is what we're warning for. Watch your weapons. This is your warning now. And then you get two nut. So not you get one like regular nut shot, right? You kind of shit, the dude keep me in there, but you keep going. Let me preface the next one with this, which is important. Like, and that's what people, you can't have it both ways, right? When I express it, you can't have it. You have to pick a side, right? So going to the fight, this is a striker's fight. This is someone who is a 5-time Irish kickboxing champion, right? He's a high-level striker. He throws a high-level striking technique at he puts everything into it. He puts 100% into a high-level striking technique that's very dangerous. We all know the damages of a spinning back. It's a highlight. He's looking for a highlight reel knockout. That is a knockout shot. That shit landed illegally to my balls, right? Just think of that in itself. It's not like I'm not on the street and just some random guy who doesn't know what he's doing. It's not like I ran to a car. Coincidentally, that's kind of why I stopped teaching cardio kickboxing. So I was holding past this lady. I was trying, and she kicked me in the dick, and I was like, "What's
that? The lady, the heavy hitter you were talking about previously?"
No. This is something way different. No. This is way She hits me. I'm gonna be on the floor, just like when Dean Barry kicked me. And she hits me. No, but it was one of those, like, it wasn't intentional, wasn't hard. But again, that's not what I got kicked with. I got spinning dick kicked by a kickboxing world champion. This process that, right? And how am I not how does that in itself not alter the course of the fight? That's just like if he would have caught me with a spinning back kick to the face.
So you were feeling that badly afterwards.
Come on, like that's the thing. People, they just like, yeah, we know it was a spinning dick shot, but you could keep going, right? You kept going, right? I'm like, yeah, but you also are compromised. I'm just as compromised if he would have hit me with a legal shot that would have hurt me. But instead, it was an illegal shot that hurt me. You know what I'm saying? So I still got a nasty a shot. I took a shot, nasty, but it just happened to be that it was an illegal one. So whatever. So that's to the point of that was what your question about the shot, correct?
Yes.
And now there's more to it, like, and there's more to that in itself, right? Or how the fight plays out. So I'll just stick with the shot. So I understood going to the fight, like, I'm gonna be a bigger guy. He's coming up. He's also going to get, given his style, given his level of endurance, I knew he wasn't going to be able to sustain that shit. I knew he was going to eventually slow, and it's a crash. It's not even a gradual slowdown. Like, the dude crashes, right? So I'm on the ground. I'm on the ground about 2.5 minutes. all I'm thinking about, and which is why I jumped back up. I'm in pain, but I was like, oh shit, he's getting rest right now. Think about it. The shot came at like 1:55. It was under 2 minutes. So we've been fighting for less than 2 minutes, but you get like a 2.5. You get a 2.5 minute. You get more of a break than you've actually been fighting, right? And one of the strategies on this is we're talking about his endurance because he has none. So in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, we got to get back up. He's getting a break right now. We're just gonna have to tough this shit out, and we're gonna figure it out in round 2. Because that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, we know he was gonna come with some shit. I'm still hurt. We can figure out in the next one. We can just survive the rest of this round. We can regroup between rounds, and then we can fully come. Because again, I already knew he was gonna get tired. He's gonna come back out. He's gonna do the fucking bouncing thing. He's gonna throw these big. He's putting everything into it. I'm literally like, because again, people have gifts, right? So one of my gifts is my reaction time, my speed, my quickness, right? As he's throwing, I'm literally looking at this dude's fist. It's kind of like Matrix. Like, that's how I look at shit. This dude is throwing these big shots. I'm looking at the shots go by. I'm like, damn, if he would have hit me with that, it would have hurt. But he couldn't hit me with it. Like, if you look at it prior to the nut shot, he wasn't landing anything. He was hitting nothing but air. He may have hit me one time. Now, he threw like little side kicks out or whatever, but fine. That didn't do anything. It kind of just pushed me back. There was no damage. As far as damaging shots, he landed like maybe one before the nut shot, right? So then the nut shot happened. I'm like, shit, I don't want him to get this energy back. Whatever happens, like, we gonna go out here, we gonna figure it out. So when I get back up, he's landing these shots more now. I'm like, shit. He touched. And yeah, I'm all like, yeah, like I was compromised. Just again, if I either hit me with a legal shot that would have rocked me, the same thing, right? I'm compromised, but I'm at no point, even when he rocked me with a shot, he hit like a right hand. I was never like, oh shit, the referee's gonna stop this. I was just like, all right, let's figure this out. Which I figured it out really quickly. I just put some wrestling on, and boom, we got out of the situation. You know, but I was really just like, I don't want to say survival mode. Like, I didn't think I was like, that was going to be it. I was like, hey, just make it through the rest of this round, which is, because again, it took 4 hours for my balls to stop hurting. They were burning from the shot. Because again, this is a kickboxing world champion. I got hit with a crazy shot from a high level striker. It's supposed to be a damaging shot. I would kind of be like, if it didn't hurt, I'd be like, dude, this dude's not a champion. Like, what kind of kick is that? If he's supposed to be a champion and the kick don't hurt, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so it all makes sense. But so that had I go back and wrestle with him or whatever, and then the fucking he tries to hit me with the pie made eye gouging technique, and he adheres to that, right? And the nut shot happens. It happens because I feel he's getting tired, so he's lazy with his technique, right? But I'm not gonna say that was intentional. He's gassing. He threw a shit, and when I say he's gassing, these are his words. Now, can I tell he's gassing? I can see it in his face. I can, because every time he starts loading up, I see the punches coming. So I'm like, all right, he's fucking gonna load up. He gonna miss, and he gonna be tired. He made a comment, like his words was like, I was fatigued, and because someone asked him about it online, his comment was, fatigue was setting in. So you already telling me you was tired. At this point, I hadn't even felt like I don't even feel like I was in a fight, if I'm being honest. Outside of the nut shots and the eye gouges, my body didn't feel like it was in a fight. I wasn't tired, because again, endurance is that's one of my gifts. So if you're, and that's to my point why he took the easy way out here. He's getting tired. We're gonna see he get tired because the poor technique on the spinning kick, right? He's getting tired. He knows he has a lot to write on his plate right now. So in his mind, he's like, shit, I gotta save face somehow. So in the moment, it felt like a poke. and I gave him the benefit of doubt, right? I was like, damn, that dude poked me in my eye. I'm hurt. I'm like, look at that shit. They say, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, man, I'm not fighting with this eye. Again, all at the same time, my balls are still burning from the nut shot. So now I'm dealing with my balls hurting. I'm in pain from that. Now I'm also dealing with this dude gouging my eye out. Right? So, and this one, I'm just like, bro, and again, I'm in a prize fight where the person across from me is trying to incapacitate me. I'm compromised from you. Again, this is not a street fight. If it's a street fight, fine, we fight to the death, whatever. This is not that. This is a sporting competition. So in the eyes of a competitive sport, I don't want to continue in a fight where I've been compromised by 3 illegal shots in one round. It's not three. This isn't 3 different attacks over the course of a 3 round. This is 3 attacks, which it was what? I think the time of the fight was 3 and some change.
Yeah, like
so
3:45, something like that.
So this is in this fight where this dude is hitting an illegal strike like every minute and some change. How am I supposed to compete with that? But these people are like, oh, you quit. I mean, if you say I quit, how about you dude fucking doing the illegal? And then, which further leads me into the white fragility comment that I make about this, is that in the moment, right, you apologize. I give you the benefit. I'm not a dirty. I'm not a cheater. I apologize. I didn't mean to do it, right? So I was like, you know what? It's a fight. And again, I'm not really, because I hadn't seen the replay yet, so I didn't understand the extent of the eye gouge. I thought he kind of poked me. So I was giving him the benefit, right? Then I go back and watch the replay, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This was intentional as fuck. What happens is you're tired. You exhausted from the fight, and this is when you make these kinds of mistakes, right? You're not making, if you're fully engaged, now unless you're just a fucking dirty cheater, right? Which I get, Dean Berry is a dirty fucking cheater. But let's just say you're not tired, right? The only way you do that if you're not tired is if you're just a dirty cheater, right? But from my standpoint, looking at him, he was tired. He was exhausted. He didn't knew. And then we're still in the first round. I'm warming up. Everybody knows I like to slow cook people. All my knockouts have come in the second round. I called this one in the second round. I was just warming again. The first shot happened under 2 minutes, and not even 2 minutes into the fight. Right? So I'm kind of warming up, doing my thing. Then I got I was like, yo, that's not cool, whatever. So I go back, watch the thing. I see that he didn't just poke me. He poked, curved the fingers, turned the hand, and ripped apart, ripped away. That's not accidental. When I see all of these movements, you're at no point your body was like, don't do this. All right, whatever. So even then, watching the replay, I'm like, all right, he did some fucked up shit. But I left it at that. I wasn't gonna go any further than that because that's not my style, right? Then the next day it's like, oh, Mike Jackson quit. Wait, what? So is that the white fragility in this is that this fella doesn't want to own his actions that he committed. And so what he wants to do, he wants to delegate the blame to someone else, particularly me. He wants to, as opposed to owning up to his mistake, right? As opposed to, yeah, I kicked that dude in the dick twice and I gouged his eyes out. I get why he wouldn't want to keep fighting in this high-level sporting competition, right? As opposed to just doing that, he goes online and was like, nah, he quit. He could have continued. He said he couldn't open his eye. But then he opened his eye. Someone to the other person, again, me, for your mistake. Now I no longer respect you as a fighter, nor do I respect you as a man. Because you exuding this fragility of your insecurities as a fighter. You can't own up to your own shit. So now they mad at that. They like, why you bring racist? And then they don't even get the concept of what white fragility really is. So then they're upset about that. And then so they not only double down, they triple down. And so that's where we are with that. So I had to call you boys out on this fuckery because that's really what it is. It's like, no, you gonna own this. You gonna own this L. You are dirty. You're a fucking cheater. So that's how I look at Dean Barry right now, and I have zero respect for him, and it's all because he couldn't just take his L. Like, just take your L, right? When the guard did it, shit, I took my L. All the fights I've lost, I've taken my L. I wasn't making excuses for it, right? And especially when I'm the one who did some like if I did some illegal shit. All I had to do was just shut up. So then he goes, but that's the thing. Like, he goes, makes a video, says I quit. But then he had to delete that. Actually, he deleted his old Twitter account. Yeah, he's like, fuck, because he was getting that shit. They was coming back. He was getting that fire, and he couldn't take it. So then he kind of just started posting shit. And even now, he's posting shit on Instagram. Like, after he posted shot, like, basically when he hurt me. And then, like, I shot in and did the rest. I'm like, no, you was posting shot when you compromised me first. Where you kick me with the, like, you got it, all of this is in context. You can't just say, oh, look at this, I'm whooping his ass. Like, no, you whooping my ass right now because you kicked me in the dick with a spinning kick. Like, there's context to all this. And you have people out here, and that's what he's doing. He's trying to paint this picture as he's the victim. Like, you can't do some fucked up shit and then play victim. I'm not going to, and then me being me, because everybody knows, like, I'm out here fucking, I call out the white fragility that these people exude. So maybe I'm not going to sit around here and take it. Because again, it's not just, it's me. You're now directing this shit at me. And I'm just not going to take that shit laying down. And so the shit that you give back, you have to understand it's going to come back 10 times. Because I'm petty as fuck, so.
So, and Mike, I really appreciate the time, man. So, I mean, what's next for you, right? Age 37, two questions. How do you feel? Like, how's the body feel next? What's next for you? What do you want next? A rematch, maybe?
Man, people keep saying that. I feel great. Body feels solid. I'm going to the doctor this week to get everything checked out. Got to get a hand looked at, as well as get my eye, make sure I don't have no iris germs, no shit like that floating around that Dean Barry could have given me. But I'm at this point. I'm trying to process. I'm really still processing things mentally. Because for me, like, the dude took something from me. Like, he took away. Like, yeah, I get the win, I got the check or whatever, but it's not about the check, man. For me, it was about the kill. Like, you talk all this shit. I went in there with intentions to get this knockout, right? And you took that from me. Because you cheated to take, like, as opposed to taking his L like a man, like what he signed up for. He took the coward plea out. And he was like, yeah, I'd rather take this DQ than get knocked out in front of his people. And so for me, like, that's what really, at the end of the day, that's what really sucks most, is because, again, I had some cool shit that I was trying to show on display, and he prevented me from that. Because, again, I'm not doing this shit. I'm not trying to become champion. I'm not trying to become the top 10. I'm just doing it for the shits and giggles because it's something fun to do, right? So, given the circumstances, who knows? Again, it's not up to me. Sean offers a matchup, and it's a quality matchup, and it makes sense. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go right now. I honestly rematch. I would rematch this dude, so I would go fight him in a fucking AA. If he wants to do the Krav Maga shit, I go fight him in a street fight. If that's what if that's what he really wants. He wants to play fucking dirty, that he is. But if I'm being honest, I think he gets cut because, again, he was signed to fight me. It's clear he doesn't have the skill set for this shit. He doesn't have. He's not a pro level fighter. You can't tell me you're a pro level fighter and you out here with 3 legal strikes in the first 3 blatant, and again you got 2. We'll give you the benefit, say your accent, fine. But you really try, like, the eye guy was, that's 100% intentional. And again, this isn't a street fight. This is a competitive sport. And within the rules and the confines of the competitive sport, you're not qualified to be here. You know what I'm saying? Just like some Mike Tyson biting people's ears off and shit kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that they cut him. If I'm being honest, he doesn't deserve to be here, and he did that to himself. He claimed he lost so much people money. I made people a lot. Well, he made, I should say, because I got the DQ win. He made a lot of people money Saturday night, and he also lost a lot of. He made my people a lot of money, and he lost a lot of people money on his end. You know what I'm saying? And no, he doesn't deserve to be here because of his own actions.
So it looks like you want to take some time, right, to sort of, take some time off after a fight and see what's next, right? That's what you want to do.
Yeah, right now that they say I get through and clear me once I get cleared by the docs. I can get back to training and all that shit. So it's just it's a matter of when they say I'm good to go. But nah, man, my body is solid, man. Like I told you, I just feel like I was really in a fight. I had a little soreness, but I think that's just not like after every fight you have soreness, but I think that's just from the environment, the atmosphere was going on. You're in a stressful situation, so I think the body kind of internalizes that, which I kind of put that together after. I was like, why is my body sore? And I ain't really do shit, But I remember back to all my other fights, why my body was sore or how it felt. I was like, it makes sense. But no, which that in itself is going away now. I'm getting some massages, so I feel great. Fighting, I can fight this weekend. That's how good I feel right now. I can fight next. I'm in fighting condition. I'm in fighting shape. So some comes about, cool. And again, if it doesn't, that's cool too. I have some dope shit there, like the fight photography. I get to travel the country taking pictures of fighting. People, and that's funny. Like, people like, I'll go back and taking pictures. I'm like, bro, like, this is my life. I get to enjoy life while you're over here miserable as fuck working some trash ass job.
Where can people find that? Where can people find that stuff?
Well, the Twitter is @TheTruthJackson. You get some dope content there. Facebook is Mike the Truth Jackson. A lot of my albums there. And then now you can follow the new Instagram. It's Shits and Giggles brand, because that's what we out here doing it for, right? That's the new Instagram, and that's where obviously you're gonna find the dope photos and dope art. We just had Theory 60, which again I'm everywhere. Like I think someone is like, damn, Derrick White can't get rid of Mike Jackson. Like, I'm just here, Following that, I'm on Fight Pass, taking pictures and shit. So man, I'm just I'm enjoying. I'm living other people's dreams. It's my dream, I guess. I'm living other people's dreams, and that's why they're so mad, which is wild to me. Which is like, go out here and create your own shit. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So I think that's a good note to end on. Mike, thanks so much for the time, man. Thanks for calling into the show, and we're rooting for you in the future, man. Best of luck.
Man, I appreciate you having me, man. Have a good one.
Take care, man. Have a good one. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that was Mike Jackson, sharing some of his life, some of his MMA experiences, some of the recent controversies, and I think I want to get right into MMA news now, right? Let's close out the show on that note, and yeah, let's start off at the top. Jorge Masvidal issued stay-away order from Colby Covington, enters official not guilty plea. Interesting. And this is all from MMAfighting.com. We're about to talk about an MMAfighting.com show in a second. I got a big problem with that. Love the news, love everything else. Even love that show. Jorge Masvidal was officially given a stay-away order from his rival Colby Covington on Thursday. Masvidal, who appeared via Zoom, and his legal team entered a verbal plea of not guilty for Judge Zachary L. James at the 11th Judicial Circuit of Florida and Miami on Thursday morning, stemming from Masvidal's alleged attack on Covington in Miami Beach, Florida, this past month. 37-year-old faces 2 separate felony charges related to the alleged attack against Covington. The more serious charge is an aggravated battery, which, according to court documents, states Masvidal struck Covington with a deadly weapon that caused great bodily injury, which has now been documented as a brain injury. Police responded to a call later on that night. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. We know what happened. So, yeah, I mean, listen. Colby's pressing charges. A lot of people have issue with that. I got to be honest, I haven't even given that enough thought to even know where I stand on that. I don't blame people for bashing him for pressing charges if that's what Colby is going to end up doing and does end up doing or already did end up doing. And here's the thing about this whole Masvidal Covington thing. It's so interesting because I'm so evenly sided on this whole thing, guys. I don't know about you. Like, maybe I'm leaning more in the favor of Colby a little bit, like a 51%. I don't know, because here's the thing, man. Yeah, Masvidal did have 25 minutes to get him in that cage. He did. He had 25 minutes to get him in the cage, and that's something that I think overpowers the Masvidal side of the story in this whole dilemma, right? But then again, it's like you look at Masvidal and say, the guy talked about your fucking wife, your kids, your family, about you. Like, forget about you, actually. He talked about your wife and your kids, your family. You know what I mean? That's not something you touch on, man. And with a guy like Masvidal, with his past, fighting in the streets since before even the Kimbo Slice days, is a guy who's a street guy, man. They call him fucking Street Jesus for a reason. If you're Colby Covington and you're talking about his wife and his kids, don't be surprised if this motherfucker runs up on you and hits you with a 2-piece in the soda. You know? That's how Masvidal is behind the scenes. He's still a gangster at the end of the day. He's a BMF, right? He got the fucking title that says he's the baddest motherfucker. Just like he ran up on Leon Edwards backstage, he will run up on you at a restaurant, Colby. And I think Colby, more than anything, you know, you saw the video of Colby reacting, talking to Bob after the fight, the guy from this on the Full Send podcast. And Colby didn't seem surprised. Seemed upset that Masvidal jumped him. Not jumped him, but I guess kind of, yeah, that Masvidal assaulted him there, hit him, chipped his tooth from what I'm hearing. But I think the bigger thing with Colby was he was upset more. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't surprised. He knows Masvidal. We know Masvidal. I don't think anyone was surprised about this. Think about it. When this news came out, were you surprised? No. You probably felt indifferent about it, depending on whatever side of the scale you fall on in this argument, but you weren't surprised. UFC announces return to London July 23rd. Nice. That's a card that I'm hearing a lot of rumors, right? We could have Tom Aspinall, the main event of that card. Didn't take a lot of damage in the Alexander Volkov fight. That was in, London as well, right? I think. Yeah, London. And then Darren Till maybe on the co-main event. Maybe. Against like somebody like Uriah Hall, Buckley, something like that. That'd be fun. MMA pound-for-pound rankings. Alexander Volkanovski breaks up Three Kings stranglehold, vaults into top 3. So was it Three Kings, I guess, Francis, the Three Kings from Africa kind of shit? Francis, Kamaru, Izzy. So Volk's in the top 3. You know, everyone knows how I feel about that, right? I think Max Holloway won the second fight, and I'm never going to forget that. But I think you could put Volk in there, right? He's a champ. You got to give him that, right? So regardless of how I feel on that. Ex-Glory champion James Wilness. We got the mineral herbs talking. Ex-Glory champion Jason Wilness signs with KSW. Set for debut at KSW 70 on May 28th. Nice. Morning Report, Jake Paul unleashes expletive-filled tirade at Michael Bisping and Jorge Masvidal, beat the fuck out of all of them. Now, this seemed to have been an interview that Jake Paul did, if I'm not mistaken, during some of the press for the Amanda Serrano-Katie Taylor fight, which is, tomorrow? Saturday? Something like that. It's this weekend, which is a huge female boxing match, by the way. And, so Jake talks about, to be honest, I don't care about criticisms. To me, if you're a man who's around my weight and you want to talk shit and you could fight, then let's get in the ring and settle it, because I'm sick and tired of these UFC champions and these guys that think they're tough. It started with Ben Askren, then Tyron Woodley. I've proven that I can beat these guys, and it's easy. If they're going to talk shit on Twitter, let's settle it in the ring. Let's check if you can get back. Let's check if you can back up that shit talk. Let's see how tough these boys really are. See, here's the thing, man. Is the Paul brothers are very, very good at fighting people that they know they're going to beat. And it's something I want to get off my chest, because I'm a fan of Jake. I mean, I'm not a fucking Jake Paul fan, but I'm a fan of what he's done. You know, promoting the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano fight, making money for himself, talking shit. Like, who cares? But, I mean, everyone cares. But my thing is this. So now, guess what, man? You listen, you fought Ben Askren, who's a guy who can't fucking strike. What is the number one thing when we think of Ben Askren that comes to mind? His wrestling. Who in the world is thinking Ben Askren's a striker? We laughed. Give you a little hardcore perspective. After Ben Askren got fucking starched by Jorge Masvidal with that flying knee, he fought Damian Maia. I think that was his last fight. That was his last fight before he retired. Last fight in the UFC, last fight of his career. And people were clowning, the hardcore fans were clowning Damian Maia and Ben Askren for standing up and actually striking for a long time. They were clowning a Ben Askren fight that went more than 3, 4, 5 minutes in the stand-up. That's because Ben's not a striker. It's actually the opposite. Like, we're not talking about a guy here who's good at both things or a guy who's like 70-30 or whatever. We're not even talking about like Khabib. Khabib was a guy who was an excellent wrestler, a specialist, just like Ben. But Khabib's a better striker than Ben was. Khabib has shown decent ability in his hands, or like in Islam Makhachev. I'm talking about just wrestling specialists here. That's why I bring up Islam and Khabib. Ben, unlike Khabib and Islam, especially Islam, Ben is like the opposite. Ben ain't like Khabib was well-rounded. You can't be a world champion and not be well-rounded. He had to have some striking, whether it was a 80-20 percentage of differential between the striking and wrestling, 80% being wrestling, of course. Ben, what the fuck was Ben? Ben was like 2% striking, 98% wrestling. You beat that guy, and you didn't even beat him in his prime. Like, maybe it's more impressive you beat him in his prime because he's still in shape and has that fighter mentality. But no, you beat him when he was fat, overweight, looked terrible. Terrible. Ben Askren could have been fighting ripped at 55. If he had actually dedicated himself to his nutrition and his body more, Ben Askren could have been fighting at 155 pounds because he makes 170 pounds at the weigh-in with a belly still, guys. With a fucking belly. So you're fighting a guy that could fight at 155 pounds. Fought him. Fought Tyron Woodley, a guy who had lost 5 fucking fights in a row. A guy who cuts weight and fights at welterweight, though. Regardless if he cuts weight to welterweight. Yeah, he's not naturally 170 pounds. Woodley was right for 170 pounds. He was a perfect 70-pounder. Jake's a big boy, man. Jake's walking around at 205, 210, 215, whatever he is. 210 probably. You want to fight him? 5-fight win streak, a 5-fight losing streak. I mean, I get that. It's a good fight to build you up. Not a boxer. And now, what do you want to do, Jake? You want to fight Michael fucking Bisping with one eye, 2 years old, who hasn't fought in how long? Wasn't the Gastelum fight Bisping's last fight? You know how long ago that was, people? 2018, something like that? It definitely wasn't past 2018. So one eye, 4-year layoff, retired 42-year-old fighter. Stop it. I got something for you, Jake. You want to fight somebody? Sorry for kicking the fucking camera. You want to fight somebody, Jake? Fight Anderson Silva. Fight Anderson Silva, my man. Why not? He's 42, so we'll throw some of your stipulations in there. He's 42 years old too, okay? But he's a guy who could actually box, which is what you do. You box. You're a boxer. Box Anderson. If you're that bad motherfucker, Jake, box Anderson. I don't know, man. To me, it's just... And it's like Logan wants to fight Patty. Like, what the fuck, dude? Patty's so small. Yeah, Patty gets up to 185, 190 after his fights. Do you see how he looks at 185, 190? You want to fight him like that? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Come on, dude. I get what the Paul brothers do, but that area of it, specifically who they pick as opponents, pisses me off. Kamaru Usman, Canelo Alvarez trade shots after who the fuck is this job at Champs Manager. Yeah, so for anyone who saw it, Ali Abdelaziz sent out a stupid tweet because the guy's an idiot, let's be honest. He sent out a tweet and it was like coming at Canelo or something, like he's afraid to fight Usman, something along those lines. Canelo responds saying, who the fuck is this? And that shit blows up like I don't know how many favorites, 80,000 favorites, something along those lines. And most of it from the MMA community because boxing hardcore fans that don't know anything about mixed martial arts don't really know that we all hate this guy. So this guy does that, and I guarantee you most of the 90% of those favorites from the Canelo tweet came from the MMA community. And it's just funny because we know who he is. And Canelo says, who the fuck is this guy? To Ali Abdelaziz. It's funny. And where this whole story comes up is Usman then goes, oh, let's be careful before somebody gets hurt. Something along those lines. Yeah, he's like, let's be careful before somebody gets hurt. He says something like that. And Canelo says, hey, you called me out, this, that, and the other. And they get into a little spat, but it was bullshit. It wasn't really anything like that. Who actually thinks that who here actually thinks Usman can beat Canelo? Why would that fight happen? I understand the argument for the Fury versus Ngannou fight, but Usman Canelo, guys, really? That's where we're going with this? Come on. I don't want to see this. This could be a promoter's dream outside of the ring because it ain't inside the ring, but it could be a promoter's dream outside the ring. It could be the best storyline ever put together, which it would have to be to even make sense to have this fight. But it's not. Not even close. And in the ring, who the fuck wins? Canelo. I mean, obviously, but like it's not even close. So Usman gets one knockout against Masvidal now, and he wants to fight Canelo Alvarez. Come on, bro. Build your legacy in MMA. You're an MMA fighter. There's a reason you ain't a boxer. You're not the best striker in the world, buddy. But I'm a fan of yours, but I mean, I think this is ridiculous. And I agree with Dana on this. The reason why Dana doesn't even want to entertain this because it's unentertainable, to be quite honest. Eddie Hearn doesn't believe Tyson Fury will retire. Skeptical about this fight with Francis Ngannou takes place. You know, Francis said on the MMA Hour recently, right, that he said he thinks this fight's going to happen with Fury for sure. I mean, I don't know why he's so confident. I don't think this fight's a surefire bet. I think it's, like maybe 50, 60% chance it happens. Especially if Francis goes out of contract, fights, or he's not even under contract anymore, right, with the UFC? Isn't he? Wasn't this the last fight in his contract? So I think that makes it like a maybe 50, 60% proposal that this fight could happen. And Ariel went on, Eddie Hearn recently went on Ariel Helwani's show, the MMA Hour. And Ariel said for like the second time after he's had him on the first time, he said the same thing, I think. He said for the second time, having him on his show, I think you're the best promoter in combat sports. That is fucking ridiculous. Let me say something right now. If anybody actually believes that Ariel Helwani believes that Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the world, is bullshit. The UFC people, okay, which is within the same category of boxing, both in combat sports, the UFC is the fastest rising sport in the last 20 years ever in the history of humanity, in the history of any sport, American, European, you name it. UFC is the fastest rising sport in the last 20 years ever. Disqualified, Ariel, disqualified. Because the man behind all that is Dana White. And you don't get there without putting together the best fights in the world. Who is largely responsible for putting those best fights together in the world? Dana fucking White. So for you to say Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the world is ridiculous. But I know why you said it. You don't like Dana White. I get it. Dana White, you claim that Dana White got you fired from ESPN or was trying to get you fired from ESPN, right? Because you quit, right? That's what you said. But you're saying Dana White was trying to get you fired from ESPN, right? Whether that's true or not, which I don't know if that's true. I've heard a lot of stories about you, good, bad, and indifferent. How can you sit there with a straight fucking face and say that Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the world? That's a spit in the face to everything that mixed martial arts has given you. The reason you're on this platform, have gone to this level in your career, in large part, you're very good at your job. You couldn't do that without the foundation of good fights, without talking about good fights, without having great fighters on your show to be interviewed. All mixed martial artists, at least 99% of your show is that. Who promoted those fighters? Who put them on that platform? Who built them up? Dana White's responsible for all that. So don't sit there and say that Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the world because you don't like Dana White, because you don't like the way that everything ended with UFC and with ESPN. That is bias, Ariel. That is bias. Okay? If you want people to believe, if you want to have credibility when you say that everything you do is non-objective, right? That you're looking at this, or objectively rather, you're looking at this whole thing objectively, everything you say is objective. Listen. How can you sit here and say that when you're saying that Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the world? I can't take you serious when you say that because I know you're lying. That's what I mean by the objectivity, and all that. I don't believe you, man. And that really upsets me because if it weren't for Dana White, you wouldn't be on this platform that you're on right now. Your show wouldn't be as big as it is. Your name wouldn't be as big as it is, bro. So stop with that nonsense. Eddie Hearn's the best promoter in the world. Get the fuck out of here. How many big fights has Eddie Hearn promoted in the last 10, 20 years compared to Dana White? Can we do a ratio on that? I'd love for somebody to pull up a ratio on that for me because it's a fucking blowout. So stop with the nonsense. Stop. I'm a fan of your show, man. I think you're good at your job, but that's fucking horse shit. And if somebody doesn't think that's horse shit, I don't know what to tell you. You're just fucking blind, honestly. John Jones targets September return for Stipe Miocic fights. I want the heavyweight GOAT at his absolute best. I saw that. Interesting, man. Apparently John is upset because Stipe doesn't want to fight this summer and wants to fight in September. John, you took 4 years off and you're upset that a guy wants to fight 3 months after you wanted to fight him, 3 months after around the time you wanted to fight him, or 2 months rather. That's ridiculous. I mean, just accept the fight, which is what you did, and you were smart for that, and you took it. And hey, Stipe versus John Jones is a fight, man. Interim title, I want to see that. I don't know. Francis ain't going to be back by that time, by like September. So Stipe versus John Jones for the interim title. Winner of that fights Francis. We either get the Stipe trilogy, or we get a super fight with John Jones and Francis Ngannou. I'm going to close it off on that note, guys. Thank you so much. So much coming, guys. We got a new sponsor on this show. It's going to be revealed in short time. We're going to get promo codes for that. I feel like you can already guess what it is. Follow us on all platforms. And, yeah, man, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And we're going to keep going. This is a channel that provides a lot more than just podcasts. Breakdowns, interviews, memes, all that shit. So enjoy it. And, again, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.